Without change, something sleeps inside us. The sleeper must awaken.
Hello and welcome back to another We Ourselves video. And today I want to talk about John Boyega and his desire to play a really powerful black superhero in the MCU. And to me, it just points out how John Boyega is not serious about the anti-blackness in Hollywood and genre fandom. And it illustrates why my support for the actor has gone downhill. Now, the reason that I'm mentioning this is two articles. One report is that John Boyega wants to play a powerful character in the MCU. And the other one is his Variety piece where he was interviewed. And John Boyega basically says, as the headline says, John Boyega says Star Wars is so white that a black person existing in it is a big deal. Toxic fans are okay with us playing the friend, but we can't touch their heroes. And I'm going to get to that, but I just have to say this. I didn't always feel this way about John Boyega. When he was first announced, I was excited to see a black guy being featured as a main character in the Star Wars sequel trilogy. Now, of course, I know the OG Star Wars. I know that we had Billy D. Williams and we had Samuel L. Jackson. And at the time that Boyega was announced, it's like, okay, cool, we're going to have another black guy be one of the main characters in a Star Wars trilogy. Now, at the time, I did not know he was British Nigerian. But we, African Americans, as black Americans, FBA, ADOS, whatever you want to call yourselves, we have always been very accepting of other people, particularly those with our skin color, coming into our sphere and wrapping themselves in American blackness for their own success. In fact, it has become a detriment to us because we have accepted these actors and performers and artists into our lives, only to have them turn against us and disrespect our lineage, our heritage, our culture, our history. As I said, initially I was excited when John Boyega was first announced as a stormtrooper because it was different. It was unique. We were finally going to get a live action story about a stormtrooper. Now, again, I mention this because of the recent articles. One is the announcement that he wants to be in the MCU, and the other one is the Variety article where basically he says Star Wars is so white, and he talks about the toxic fan base. In particular, when he's confronted by Star Wars fans who show that they don't have any problem with black actors in the franchise, Boyega says he got tired of people mentioning Lando Calrissian and Mace Windu. And this is one of the reasons why my support for him has fallen over the years. I'm sorry, Boyega, but those two characters were miles ahead of your Finn character in the Star Wars sequel trilogy. My problem with John Boyega began when he went after Samuel L. Jackson for his comments about Hollywood always casting foreign blacks to play iconic, historical black American icons. And his comments made perfect sense because black actors like him and others, they grew up in the United States. This country and its history is part of our lineage. We have grandparents, aunts, and uncles and parents, some of who literally were on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. They grew up during the Montgomery bus boycott, or the March on Washington, the original one, or they grew up in Selma, or other historic locations. I myself had a co-producer when I was working on a series interviewing legends in the Arlington, Virginia area. My co-producer, her family ran some of the first black cab companies and ambulance companies that were created because black people could not get service from the white-owned operations. That's our lineage. That's in our blood. That's in our DNA. And because we are descendants of these people, like I said, that's our blood relation, that's our lineage, and our connection to everything that went before. British Nigerian and other non-black American actors, when they are cast for these iconic roles, they don't get it, and basically they don't care. And part of the reason that they are casted by Hollywood execs is because those execs know that they can change our history and our representation with all kind of non-historical nonsense. and the foreign-born black actors will not speak up. Why? Because they don't have any affinity nor connection to the actual material. John Boyega's clapback at Samuel L. Jackson and his disdain for Samuel L. Jackson and Billy D. Williams' characters in previous iterations of Star Wars movies shows his lack of respect. These two black men, these veteran actors, set the tone and opened the door for black representation in Star Wars. And it wasn't background unnamed extras. These men were on the posters. They had their names in the credit. If not for these two professional black men, Boyega would not even have been casted. Boyega, like others, have wrapped themselves in American blackness so they can gain success. And that's why Boyega jumped up and disrespected Samuel L. Jackson, in my opinion, even though he would not be in the Star Wars trilogy if it wasn't for Billy D. Williams and Samuel L. Jackson paving the way for him. Let's be honest, J.J. Abrams was merely copying the format. The first two Star Wars trilogies had a black man as a central character, so his movie needed to have the same thing. Plus, these two men, Billy D. Williams and Samuel L. Jackson, were already successful in their careers when they were chosen by Lucas to be in the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy. John Boyega didn't have nothing going for him when he was chosen, nothing. So all the way around, he doesn't even have the bandwidth to even come at them, nor to be in this discussion about the legacy of black roles in Star Wars. And now Boyega wants to jump over to the MCU and play a powerful black character. Again, he's wrapping himself in an African-American culture and an African-American character in order to increase his bank account. Despite complaining about racism in Star Wars fandom and Disney, he wants to move to Marvel, another Disney property, the company who is leading the way and undermining its black characters. He wants to jump out of the frying pan into the fire as far as I'm concerned, which shows that he is not serious. He doesn't care because he's a British Nigerian actor. So when it comes to Marvel and their underwritten black characters, he won't care because he personally does not identify with the lineage. He does not identify with the representation nor the history of the representation of blacks in Marvel comics and other properties. He has no natural affinity for the misrepresentation of black American characters or black characters created for a black American fan base. He doesn't see it as misrepresenting him, his people, his family, or his culture. In fact, Boyega will probably co-sign on any underrepresentation of a black character given him by MCU writers, no matter how detrimental, as long as he can get paid. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say about this whole John Boyega thing. Frankly, I'm tired of him when his character was absolutely the worst. He was so embarrassing that even white fans had to complain about how bad he was. They were embarrassed for him. He can't hold a candle to what Samuel L. Jackson has done in his entire career, not just in Star Wars, nor Billy D. Williams. Lando Calrissian was suave. He was an adult black male. He was in charge of things. Yes, he liked Princess Leia, but he did not chase behind her for 3 damn films shouting her name. That's what you did, John Boyega. You made a fool of yourself, or you allowed them to make a fool of yourself on camera. And now you want to complain and you want to belittle the 2 men that came before you who had much better representation. So no. Because if he comes over to MCU, it's just going to be even worse because he's going to co-sign on bad misrepresentation of black American characters created for a black American fan base that he has no natural affinity for and doesn't care either way. So no, stay over at Star Wars. We have enough problems over here at Marvel. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say. Thank you for watching the video. Please subscribe and share, and I will see you the next time.